Hey guys, welcome back to another today's video. And today's video, it's going to be a brand new political discussion-based video. And in this new political discussion-based video, this is going to be talking about a current U.S. political issue and U.S. economic issue that's currently plaguing the U.S. economy right now, and that is the supply chain crisis and the labor shortage crisis. And this has been getting a lot of flack from both sides on this issue. Republicans are blaming Democrats for their spending on these ridiculous unemployment benefits that is the main reason why people don't want to go back to work. While Democrats, like President Joe Biden, saying, because I read an article about this, where it's not necessarily all of Biden's fault, because some producers are just hoarding all the resources. They're just hoarding all of it to the point where they're not unleashing it and allowing it to be delivered to these retailers, to these grocery stores, so they can stock it on the shelves for consumers to buy it. And this is causing a whole big issue within the economy right now, and because we're at the point where we have like the biggest seasons in the year that are really coming up, and consumers are wanting to buy so many good products for goods and services to actually celebrate the seasons, these upcoming seasons that are coming up. You have Halloween, you have Thanksgiving, Christmas, and if there's a low shortage on like Halloween costumes, even Christmas decorations, and even food or toilet paper or paper towels, it's going to cause a huge there's a massive shortage of those products. Then companies are going to have to limit how many product, goods, and services that people are going to have to buy, and that's one of the main and that's what's going to really affect that's going to affect the overall economy, and as well it's going to lead to skyrocketing prices, because if there's a high demand but there's a low shortage, prices are going to usually go up. So for some producers to actually produce more, to actually increase productivity, that will help increase the supply that consumers are demanding, and it will lead to higher prices. And that's one of the main reasons why, and that's how it's affecting all of our lives. And honestly, in my opinion, I actually agree with Republicans on this one. I think realistically, it's honestly, in my opinion, just a little bit Democrats' fault of why we're in this crisis right now, because of these unemployment benefits. That's one of the reasons why I didn't agree with the COVID relief package. I don't think the Democrats going ahead and passing a COVID relief package through reconciliation would solve anything, because now with those unemployment benefits, American workers don't want to go back to work, because all they have to do is they can just keep enjoying getting paychecks from the government, getting all these unemployment benefits. And that's one of the reasons why it's causing a labor shortage in so many things. And now they want, and one thing I've read is that Biden wants to announce a vaccine mandate. The Chicago mayor, Lori Lightfoot, wants to impose a vaccine mandate for police officers. And this is something really, we're in this labor shortage, we're in this supply chain crisis, and they want to actually impose more mandates to actually make the problem even more worse. Are you kidding me? What we really need, in my opinion, to really solve this whole supply chain and labor shortage within the economy is less regulation, no vaccine mandates for employees and for police officers, simply because we need to get people back to work, which means we need to get rid of these ridiculous unemployment benefits and really incentivize more and more Americans to actually get back to work. And honestly, in my opinion, that will help meet that will actually, when more and more Americans have more of an incentive where they can no longer rely on unemployment benefits, then they can actually then producers can actually fill these much needed job positions that suppliers are needing. Because right now, producers these retailers, a lot of these companies, they need truck drivers, and there's a huge shortage. And as a title of it, truck driver shortage hits record high of 80,000 people, and which means this is going to affect a lot of these retail stores like Walmart, Home Depot, Target, because if there's a truck driver shortage, fewer and fewer goods and services are going to be arriving less at retail stores, which means empty shelves. You're going to have a lot more empty shelves, and consumers, they're not going to get a lot of the products, goods and services that they're demanding for this upcoming holiday season. And that's one of the reasons why these at the docks and all these boats that are coming in at the harbors, why they can't get the products to these retail stores, simply because there's a truck driving shortage of why they can't get them to the retail stores, because you need to transport them. You need people who are willing to drive these trucks to actually get to their retail stores and drop them off. So the employees, the people that stock those shelves, can be able to stock all those shelves effectively and making sure to fill them up, so consumers can buy the products that they're demanding. And that's one of the reasons. That's the biggest reason why these goods and services are not. Why it's taking forever for these. Why it's taking forever for truck drivers to actually, and these companies to actually get these products to these retail stores. And that's the biggest reason why there is a massive shortage and causing a lot of these empty shelves within the economy. And honestly, in my opinion, Democrats are not doing anything good about this, because they're imposing these ridiculous vaccine mandates for their employees, vaccine mandates for police officers, which is actually exacerbating. My God, I can't pronounce. It's making the problem even far more worse. All they're doing, they're just adding far more regulation after regulation after regulation which is causing a bigger problem with the labor shortage, and which means which means there is going to be a low supply in retail stores like Walmart and Vons, for instance, and that's the biggest problem. In my opinion, I actually side with Republicans on those two ones, simply because it is, in my opinion, Democrats' fault, and it's why we're in this labor shortage, why we have this supply chain crisis. Because if companies don't have a lot of workers, because, for instance, I have a part-time job at Walmart. A lot of my management team, they're struggling. They're struggling to hire people because no one wants to work right now, and Democrats can claim that we're in the pandemic, and it's causing this massive supply chain crisis and labor shortage. Well, while that's true, but also your unemployment benefits and these vaccine mandates and mask mandates that you're proposing is causing this labor shortage, and why people are not wanting to work anymore. And that's what's causing this ultimate why there's empty shelves, and why consumers can't get the products that they're wanting and demanding, and that's ultimately like the biggest reason to this. And honestly, in my opinion, we need to see a return to trickle-down economic policies. That's what the Reagan administration did. And honestly, in my opinion, it actually worked in that regard. And honestly, I think it will work. And I understand. I completely understand that trickle-down. I understand that trickle-down economics gets a lot of flack, because all they're doing is cutting taxes for the super wealthy, because the wealthy get a massive tax cut. Well, think about it this way, because with trickle-down economics, it focuses more on the supply side of economics. to the point where if you cut taxes for businesses, for higher income earners, capital gains and dividends, guess what that's going to happen? And guess what's going to happen when you cut taxes for producers? That's going to spur investment. They're going to be able to increase productivity. That's going to, therefore, that's going to increase supply, and it's going to shift to the right to the point where you're going to have a surplus. And guess what's going to happen when you have a surplus? Producers are going to drop prices, and consumers can enjoy those affordable and cheaper prices and get more, and actually fulfill the need and fulfill customers' wants and needs that they're wanting and needing, in order to survive, or even to actually get the products that they're demanding this upcoming holiday season. And honestly, in my opinion, I think trickle-down economics is what this country needs right now to actually, in a sense, to actually solve the supply chain crisis, to solve it completely. Because when you cut taxes for smaller businesses, for corporations, for the rich, that's going to spur investment within the economy. Businesses are going to start investing, and productivity is going to go up, and ultimately supply will shift to the right, and it'll keep increasing to the point you will have a surplus, and then producers will drop the price, will lower prices to actually bring supply and demand back to equilibrium, and that will ultimately solve the supply chain crisis within the United States of America. And honestly, in my opinion, that's what we need more than ever. And not these unemployment benefits, not these vaccine mandates that the Democrats and President Biden proposing, because that's only perpetuating this issue. Because when you give people these ridiculous unemployment benefits, guess what? That's going to incentivize them just to stay home and not even do anything, not even work, and not even get out there and find jobs and actually make our society, make our communities a better place for all people. That is, in my opinion, why we're in this predicament. And honestly, in my opinion, we just need less regulation and lower taxes for producers and suppliers, and give far more incentives for Americans to actually get jobs, so they can actually get jobs, which will benefit producers all in all, to actually where they can actually slowly meet the high demand of what consumers are wanting and needing. So honestly, I'm presenting not a 5-point plan. It was a 5-point plan at first, but it's actually a 6-point plan to tackle both the supply chain and labor shortage crisis. So the first part is cutting taxes for our small businesses and corporation partners to spur investment within the economy. And honestly, this is going back to trickle-down economics. When you cut taxes, when you cut taxes for small businesses, for these business owners, these retailers, these billionaires, and these wealthy and the wealthy people, that will spur investment within the economy that will ultimately increase productivity. And when you increase productivity, supply will shift to the right, to the point where you get a surplus. At that point, then producers will eventually, in order for them to actually get rid of that surplus, they're going to lower prices, and consumers are going to actually, it's going to all trickle down to consumers and to buyers, to the point where they can enjoy cheaper and cheaper prices. And also, no to COVID vaccine mandates or mask mandates. Honestly, in my opinion, I said this, talked about this on another person's YouTube channel, and even on Twitter. Vaccine mandates and even mask mandates should be a personal choice now. It's time to move away from mask mandates. It's time, and honestly, in my opinion, we shouldn't be forcing people to get vaccinated, because that's only perpetuating the labor shortage. Why we're having this massive labor shortage. And if we're going to fire people because they're refusing to get vaccinated, if you're forcing employers to actually fire employees who are not vaccinated, that's going to increase a far more labor shortage within the U.S. economy, and and they're going to have such a low supply of workers to the point where they're going to have the other work. They're going to have the workers that they have now, though the vaccinated ones, of course, they're going to make them work longer hours, and they're going to have to increase their pay to actually increase productivity and making sure those shelves are stocked for their shoppers. And also, and number three, the third point part of my plan to tackle the supply chain and labor crisis is reward every working American $1,000 in freedom dividends that do have jobs, and they will receive $1,000 every month. This will incentivize the unemployed to apply and fill those needed job markets to meet the high demands that every consumer is wanting and needing. And honestly, in my opinion, this will actually, when you're actually incentivizing people to actually to find jobs within the economy, and actually you're actually rewarding people who do apply and find jobs within the economy. That will ultimately increase the supply of labor that producers are so needing to actually meet the high demand that what customers are demanding that are demanding and or even wanting and needing to actually feed their families, or even to actually buy the products and the goods and services that they're needing this holiday season. And also, the fourth part of my plan is passing the infrastructure bill. To rebuild this country's infrastructure from the ground up that will create really great high-paying jobs. And honestly, in my opinion, it can. The best infrastructure bill that should pass is the $1 trillion legislation bill. I'm not really for the $3.5 trillion bill because it's too much. It's too much spending. I think realistically, I'm with Republicans on this one, even Joe Manchin on this one. If we're talking about the basic elements of infrastructure, it should just be roads and bridges, rebuilding that much needed infrastructure, not child care tax credit. It should be the basic elements of an infrastructure bill is roads, bridges, and that's it. And also other infrastructure to rebuild all of our roads and bridges, not child tax credit. That's something that can be in another portion of the bill. Pass the $1 trillion infrastructure bill. And also, another thing I support is incentivizing, giving financial incentive for younger Americans to join the trucking industry to meet the high demands of truck drivers, because we need truck drivers more than ever, because they're the ones that are transporting these goods and services to these retailers, to these stores. So their employees can actually stock those shelves, to making sure that their shoppers, to making sure that their consumers, that their customers can get the products that they are so wanting and demanding. And also, the sixth and the final point of my plan is to cut the unemployment benefits that will incentivize that, which will ultimately incentivize more Americans to get jobs and fill those important positions for the supply chain that will ultimately meet the high demand that consumers are wanting and needing. And ultimately, that's ultimately my 6-point plan to tackle the supply chain and labor shortage. And honestly, in my opinion, and I understand, I can understand some people who are a little bit skeptical on trickle-down economics, but honestly, in my opinion, it actually works. Because if I see it, if I find it over here, when trickle-down policies work during the Reagan administration, it seemed like trickle-down economics worked. The administration's policies, known as Reaganomics, helped end the 1980 recession. Reagan cut taxes significantly. The top rate fell from 70% for those earnings, $180,000 or more, to $28,000 for anyone within an income of $18,500. Reagan also cut the corporate tax rate from 46% to 40%. And when you do all that, when you cut taxes for businesses, for small businesses, for corporations, that will increase productivity and therefore increase supply. And that will ultimately mean when you have that will ultimately lead to a surplus and when you have a surplus, producers are going to actually drop prices to get rid of that surplus, and guess what? Consumers are going to enjoy cheaper prices, and they're going to buy more of those, and in which their wants and needs are satisfied. That their unlimited wants and needs are satisfied, and that, honestly, in my opinion, that's going to tremendously tackle the supply chain crisis and tackle the labor shortage when we're cutting taxes for our small businesses and corporation partners, when we're not even mandating the vaccine or when we're not mandating the vaccine or mask to employers, to employees, or when we're rewarding every working American $1,000 in freedom dividends that do have jobs every month, which will incentivize the unemployed to apply and fill those needed job markets to meet the high demand that every consumer is wanting or needing, or even to meet those job positions that producers and suppliers desperately want and need within their business that will ultimately, and even passing the infrastructure bill to rebuild this country's infrastructure from the ground up, that will create really great high-paying jobs, incentivize younger Americans to join the trucking industry to meet the high demands of truck drivers, and also cutting unemployment benefits, which will incentivize more and more Americans to get jobs and fill those important positions for the supply chain to meet the high demand that consumers are wanting and needing. And this ultimately, in my opinion, I believe will tackle the supply chain crisis and labor shortage, which will ultimately bring supply and demand back to equilibrium. Which will coin the term for shortage in chief to now surplus in chief. So ultimately, guys, share your opinions in the comment section below. Do you agree and disagree with me about my 5-point plan to tackle the supply chain and labor shortage crisis within our economy? Do you think it's the right approach? Do you disagree with my opinion on trickle-down economics? And what do you really think? And share your opinions of how we can tackle this crisis, and how we can get people back to work, and how we can actually increase supply. And share your opinion in the comment section below, because we can all be agents of change that will truly reimagine a new beginning and a new definition and a new beginning and a new future for this grand nation that we call America. So thank you guys so much for watching this video, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment down below, and share other political videos that you guys want me to talk about on this channel. But until next time, guys, this is the Young Centrist, and I am out.